Trust doesn't shatter in a single instant. It frays quietly, thread by thread, like a loose string tug from a favorite shirt. You hardly notice it at first, not until the tear grows wide enough to see through. For me, the unraveling began the day I forgot my camera at home. My wife mentioned, almost offhandedly, that her ex had borrowed it. She said it like it was nothing. "Don't be mad," she laughed, a little too quickly. But something shifted inside me. Why would she still be in contact with him? And why would she lend him something that belonged to me? I tried to brush it off, convincing myself I was being paranoid, that trusting her meant letting small doubts go. But those small doubts have a way of feeding on silence until they grow teeth. About a week later, I stopped by a local camera shop to buy a new lens. The owner, an older man with sharp eyes and a gentle voice, froze the moment he saw me. He asked, "Did you sell your camera recently?" I frowned. "No, why?" He turned his computer screen toward me. There was my camera listed under recent trade-ins. Same model, same scuff marks near the strap ring, even the engraving beneath the mount. Aaron, keep creating. The air in the shop suddenly felt heavy. Without another word, the owner reached for the phone and called the police. I just stood there, staring at the screen, my thoughts crashing into one another. Her words echoed in my head. "Don't be mad. My ex has your camera." What once sounded harmless now rang like a confession disguised as a joke. I listened as the owner quietly spoke to the dispatcher, giving him the serial number, the date of the trade, and the description of the man who sold it. I could barely breathe. The image seared itself into my mind. My camera sitting on some stranger's counter, while my wife carried on as if nothing had happened. When he hung up, he looked at me and said softly, "You did the right thing coming in." But I hadn't done anything. I'd simply stumbled into the truth. Minutes later, 2 officers arrived. They asked a few questions, checked my receipts, and confirmed what I already knew. The camera was mine. What I didn't know was just how deep the betrayal went. It turned out the man who'd pawned it wasn't just her ex. He'd been visiting our house while I was at work. Neighbors had seen him a few times, helping her load things into his car. My stomach dropped when the police told me other missing electronics had been traced through the same pawn network. That evening, when I got home, the house felt colder, smaller. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling her phone, as if the world hadn't just cracked open. I asked her one question. "Why?" She didn't answer. She just looked at me, guilt in her eyes, excuses forming on her lips. But before she could speak, there was a knock at the door. The sound echoed through the room like a warning. She froze, her phone slipping slightly from her hand. When I opened the door, the same 2 officers from the shop stood there. Their faces were calm, but there was finality in their eyes. They asked for her by name. Her face went pale. I didn't need to ask why they were there. I already knew. She tried to whisper something, maybe an explanation, maybe a plea, but I'd already heard the truth. The pawn records showed multiple transactions in her name. My camera had only been one of many things she traded for quick cash. As they read her rights, she looked at me, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I didn't think you'd find out," she whispered, sorry not for what she'd done, but for being caught. I said nothing. There was nothing left to say. The woman I thought I knew had been fading long before that night. I just hadn't noticed. When the door closed behind them, the silence pressed down like a weight. I walked into the corner where my camera once sat, the empty space now holding every lie I'd ignored. The photos on the wall stared back. Smiles, vacations, perfect moments captured through a lens that no longer belonged to us. Later, when the shop called to say my camera was being returned, I didn't feel relief, only emptiness, because some things, once stolen, can never truly be replaced. Trust, peace, faith, love. She told me not to be mad. But the truth is, I wasn't. I was finished.